Welcome to The Howl. I'm your host, Chloe Manolis, and in this first episode of Chasing Success, I sat down with Dean Mr. Norris to discuss. We talked about what the definition of success is, making a positive impact in the school and for yourself as a student, and an overall outlook on what learning is truly made for. Thank you for joining, and we hope you enjoy. Hello, welcome back to The Howl. I am your host, Chloe Manolis, and this is the first episode of Chasing Success. Unfortunately, we did originally have 3 guests supposed to be here today, but we only have our dean, Mr. Norris. We were supposed to have Mr. Rogers and the other dean, Mrs. Korakakis, but neither of them could make it. But I think we'll be fine.
We'll be good. We'll be good.
We'll be discussing how to be successful regarding school and as a student overall. So that being said, thanks for tuning in, and let's jump right into it. So starting off with my first question is, in your opinion, what are the responsibilities of a successful student?
You know, I think that too often people visualize as there's only one thing of success when it comes to students, when in actuality there's, we got 2,100 kids in this building, so success I think is different for every single one of those kids. Everybody comes from a different upbringing, everybody comes from a different place.
Right.
Some kids' success is going to Harvard. Some kids' success is going straight to a factory working on blue-collar stuff.
Right.
There's no straight definition of success. There's some similarities in those things. Requires hard work, requires being on time, requires all of those things. But I think that too often people view success as going to college, making money, and doing all those things. For some people, that is the definition of success. But I don't think it is for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that success comes in so many different packages. Everybody's definition of success is out of this world.
Right. I've been in this building education for 27 years, and it's one of those things where I've seen success is measured differently for every single person. But wherever it is, it's different for everybody. We just want people to reach that their potential. It's one of the things I always try to do as an educator is reach that potential.
That's good. I like that. But how can students be successful in making a difference, especially in the hallways, classes, with their peers, teachers, themselves, and then in the building?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that everybody has to realize, and sometimes it's tough to understand. It's, in a big building like this, we have 14-year-olds to 18-year-olds.
Right.
It's a huge discrepancy of kids, but every single person, every single student, every single staff member has value, and they bring that value to this building, and it's what people are comfortable with. How do they make a difference? You're part of a community. Hershey's part of a community, and it's a community in which we value being honest, we value hard work, we value academics, we value co-curriculars, we value fine arts, and every single person in this building has value. And that's something that I wish everybody would remember and everybody would know is everybody who brings something to this building, everybody has value and everybody's important.
I agree. But what about those students that have either came to school with a bad past or have made a bad have just a red flag over their head? What about those students?
Yeah, and that's the hard part. That's most of my job. And part of my job is to teach those students that they have value. Whenever there's behavior is always a symptom of something else.
Right.
If you have a student who's misbehaving, students don't come to school saying, I want to misbehave today.
Right.
It's a symptom of something else. And my biggest role in my position is to teach those students who struggle. Sometimes Hershey isn't for everybody. The American public education system isn't for everybody. But my job and administration's job and our teachers' job is to have every single person realize their value and realize their potential. So my job is not so much to, my job is to educate them. My job is to teach them why the choices are bad and how we can get past those. So much into the idea of, again, back to that value, back to that they have a place, they're going to add value to this world when they get out of here. This is only 4 years.
Right.
It's a 4-year window in which you learn, in which you figure out who you are, but it doesn't define you all the time.
No, exactly. Your past or what you have envisioned for in the future does not define who you are.
Right, absolutely. When I graduated high school, I wanted to be a child psychologist.
Right.
And I took
exactly.
I took Psych 101. I was like, yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
So now I'm in this and loving it.
I've seen so many people go into college for something and then they go out not doing
Correct.
what they went to college for.
Correct.
It's just part of me is then I feel is that a waste of time? But at the same time, it's not, because it's everything is about the experience, which is literally what my podcast is about. Is learning to not be afraid of making mistakes and not be afraid of failure, because that is the whole process of becoming a successful human being.
Everybody
And
fails, that's for sure. At one point or another in their life.
what has made you, especially you,
Mm-hmm.
has made you successful in the past and or currently as a student? But that,
You know,
Student part
what's made
doesn't.
me successful, you know, we've been through, you know, I graduated high school, graduated college, got a couple of master's degrees. I always saw the end in sight. And I think that's a little bit different than a lot of people, you know. I mean,
what do you mean by you saw like the end in
Well,
sight?
you know, in all honesty, I was never a great student. You know, I was
Right.
never a straight A student or anything like that.
Right.
Not even close, actually. But I always knew that education was going to make my life better. I always knew the more degrees, the more time I spent, my life was going to be better. And I always had that driving force to get those degrees, to get into the administration, to move up in that kind of stuff.
Right.
So what's made me successful is I've always had a path. I've always seen that path. I've always wanted to get on that path. But I can tell you, I didn't have that. I mean, junior year in college, they looked at me and said, "What are you going to do?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, I don't want to be a lawyer because I want to go back to more school." So I decided, you know, social science teacher and coach and that kind of thing. Relationships, you know, you have to have relationships. You got to build relationships with everybody around you. You never know when you're going to need them. You never know where you're going to have them. But in general, I think it was just the idea of, you know, my success as a student is just, I saw the end and I knew I had to get there. As much as I didn't want to do it sometimes,
Right.
I knew I had to be there and I knew I had to do it.
Right. So do you still think, or did you think that education, or just like, did you think grades were very important for making yourself? Because I know that like grades and like learning is, you'll learn every single day. You're going
Right.
to be learning your entire life. But do you think grades define who you are?
I don't. But I do think there's professions that they do.
Right.
Listen, I don't want a doctor working on me who got C's in biology.
Yeah, that is that
You know?
it definitely does matter
You know,
what you want to go into.
For some things, you know,
Right.
like I don't want a lawyer who got a C in law school. You know, that's
Right.
not what you want.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there's some positions and some things that grades, you know, so often they define how hard you work and not so much of
Right.
what you know.
Right.
And for some students, just getting grades is just easy. That was not one of them, you know, for some students.
I definitely wasn't that, and I'm still not.
Right.
Oh.
So it's no, I don't think grades define you, but on the other hand, there's times they define you, you know.
You're right. Because I see like students like have an F in classes, and I think to myself like, yikes. First of all, but then I also think like maybe there's just something that's like not clicking for them, and like because there's so many reasons why students may fail a class, just because one is like it doesn't make sense to them, or it's just not their thing, and they don't get,
Right.
or like the students that seriously like do not care
Right.
about their grades, which at the time I could feel like I could understand that because they're immature and like they don't think, oh, I don't need school, or
Right.
grades don't matter to me. But at the same time, like I feel like grades do matter, especially if first of all the college you want to go to, but there's some kids who like don't even plan on going into college.
Right.
But if you fail to, like you're gonna be
Right.
you're gonna be flunking, and you're gonna have
Right.
to go back. So,
Right.
but what do you think about when you see students with like who are failing their classes? What do you think? Like, do you immediately like judge them and think like, oh, like they're not caring about school, they don't care about school, or
I think,
what else?
you know, I've always said, and, you know, I've been in this building a long time. When I taught, you know, I was a social studies teacher. I taught social studies for 9 years. The students who failed my class were the ones who just didn't care.
Right.
If you cared, you got to see it in my class. That was just the way it
Right.
worked.
I mean, C is
Yeah.
average.
A C
so,
is average.
yeah.
If you just show up, do your work, you're going to get a C.
Exactly.
It's the students who fail, I think that, you know, typically there's something else going on in their life.
Right.
And as an administrator, as
Yeah.
somebody who is
That's always a tough thing to judge by someone, because you never know what's going on.
Right. When I see an F, I don't see somebody who's stupid. I don't see somebody who's not working hard. I see somebody who needs more support. And I see somebody who we need to, as a building, you know, we have so many different supports here in this building. I see
Right.
somebody that just needs a little extra help.
Right.
And once they get that help, typically they go right up to the C's and B's.
That's good. I like that. Do you think participation and or attendance makes you more successful as a student? Why or why not?
I think that you can divide the two between each other. Attendance, yes. You're not going to learn if you're not in class. It's as simple
Well,
as that, yeah.
Let's say like a student is running late, like for every period, like they come in like 3 minutes, 5 minutes late, but they get good grades in that class. But the tardies, like do affect like the attendance, or like they can't go
Yeah.
to prom for
Yeah, I
being
think that
absent?
I think there's a bunch of ways to look at that. You know, it's not going to be reflected in their grade in whatever class it is, but it does reflect sometimes in the character. And
Right.
it does reflect sometimes in the what you know about the person. As somebody who's hired lots and lots of people, if somebody walks into the building 3 minutes late every day, well, that's not good.
Right.
You know, because their schedule says 7:15, they should be here at 7:15. You know, it's a skill that is important. Now, that skill is shifting, I would say, and that skill is different now with so much of the population working from home and so much of the
Right.
population doing that, you know, timeliness, I think, is shifting. I think timeliness is not viewed as important as it always has been. There's aspects it is, you know. There's times when, you know, we have a meeting with 7 or 8 people, and we're busy people. I want to start at 7:15, just like you
Right.
wanted to start at 12:30 today, you know. You got stuff to do. We got stuff to do.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, I always view it kind of as being on time as a respect thing.
Yeah, I totally understand about like the respect part, because people like some say like I don't have all the time in the world, which is pretty
Right.
pretty true. Like you might have something going on at like what 1 o'clock, and then someone's like not there, and you had to have them there. It's whatever. It's
Right.
but
I'm a very on-time person. It always bothers me if I'm late. So that's just me, though.
respect. I respect that.
But there's people
Good
who
for
aren't, who are just as
Yeah.
smart and just as hardworking and just as everything. It's just a matter of,
Yeah.
you know, how it is.
I feel like running late is like everybody is going to be running late once in a while to their
Absolutely.
job. Like it's just a common like human accident, human mistake, and things happen. Like you're going to be running into life situations, but what about the students that just cut classes all the time?
That's you know, those are the tough ones. And those are the ones we've had a tough time, even in my
Right.
15 years as a dean in this building. Those are the ones that are tough to deal with. Because it's, you know, we value the class. Why don't you value the class? Why isn't it important to you? Why don't you think it's important? Why don't you want to be there? You know, it creates a list of questions. It creates a list of whys.
Right.
And we always try to find out that why, the why for behavior. You know, as I said earlier, behavior is a symptom of something else. So why are they cutting class? Are they
Right.
cutting class because they have to work? Are they cutting class because they have to do other things? Are they cutting class? You know, we try to get to the bottom of it. And there are some kids who's like, I don't want to go.
Right. Just like straight honest, like I don't want to go.
And I do appreciate that honesty.
Yeah. It's better than just like a whole flail of reasons like, oh, this and this and that.
Right.
But I'm not gonna get into that. That's too much. But for the last question I have for you is, what advice would you give to the students who are struggling to find a path to success? Like they're struggling to find like what they want to do for the rest of their high school career, or like what they want to do for like their college, or just like literally in a pathway of like not knowing how to fix themselves, their grades, their whatever relating with school.
Yeah, my first hint and my first thing is what I tell people all the time: it's gonna be fine. You know, at 17, 18, you don't know. You don't have to
Right.
know what you're gonna do.
Exactly.
You don't have to know what you do, but you can build character at 17 and 18. You can build yourself into who you are at 17 and 18. You know, I've worked for me is having a vision. Where do you want to be when you're 30? Where do you want to be when you're 35? Understand the steps you have to take to get there. Understand the steps you have to take to earn that. And if you're struggling, you know, in this building, or you're struggling outside of it, find somebody to talk to.
Right.
You know, find somebody to connect with. We have great counselors, great social workers. I'm available. Mr. Rogers is available. Ms. Korakakis is available. You know, every single adult in this school got into education to help, to
Right.
work with people. And if you're not struggling and something's not working, find us. You know, I see so many students. You know, this is about the time of year where I see our seniors come in,
Right.
and they're looking at me like they're nervous because they
Yeah.
don't know what they're going to do next. You know, they've had 4 years of safety at Hersey High School. Then it's the, oh no, what's next?
Like they're so used to being
They are.
like have someone to
Yep.
lean on a shoulder, and then all of a sudden like they're open to the real world, and they're
Absolutely.
like, those 4 years went by fast. And like I'm not at that point yet, but I already know that my high school has gone by so quick.
Right.
And it's just like I have one more, like less than one more year left, and like I am.
Hersey's a good place. You know, it's
Yeah.
a safe place. It's a comfortable place. It's where people want to be, but then it's scary to leave.
Yeah.
It is scary to leave.
I feel like it's scary for like any teenager to leave high school because like that's their turning point of their life. That's when they're going into young adulthood and like everything from
it's
there.
the real world.
Right.
It's the real world, and they're not gonna, they're not gonna care if you're 5 minutes late for a meeting. You might get fired.
Exactly.
Here we'll,
Exactly.
Here we'll smile, maybe give you lunch attention. There, you'll lose
Exactly. That's why I say like I feel the time like you guys preach about getting on class on time, and the kids are like, oh. And they're like, well, what if we're running late? Like, which is understandable because people are running late. But I, from like my point of view, I feel like you guys are like literally just getting them ready for the real world because they're like nobody's gonna like a job interview, really important job. They're not gonna tolerate their behavior.
Right.
You guys are just getting them ready for the adulthood, which is like what school, in my opinion, is for is to learn, so you could take care of yourself in the real world when it's like not going to be as sweet and nice.
No, real world doesn't care sometimes.
Right.
I think it's a, as we talked about, the biggest thing you come out of high school with is that character. It's that hard work, character, and that ability.
That's when you're developing.
Ability to get to where you want to be. Where you want to be is different than what somebody else wants to be. It's just a matter of figuring out who you are individually and building that strong character that'll take you wherever you want to go.
Right. All right. I think that pretty much
Well, I really enjoyed that, Chloe.
settled
Thank
everything
you
up.
very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much
I
for
enjoyed
joining
that.
me. It was a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you.